the next couple of hours.
And he's on the left, but you got to go around because it's one way. You can't turn that way.
Get out of here.
Experiencingthegardenstate.com now.
With the weather, just like we do. And they want to get our insight into why the weather is doing what it's doing. We even show pictures.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
I'm Paul Emick at the Weather Channel. This is Storm Watch, and this Storm Watch will begin with a look at the tropics with our tropical update. Just a couple of days ago, we had 4 hurricanes at once. Now we're down to 2. It's Hurricane Jeanne and, of course, Hurricane George. Again, we'll take a look at the tropics now with our tropical update as we begin, first of all, close to home with Hurricane George. Down just a bit, presently around 105 mile per hour, sustained winds, and it's moving in north-northwest around 6 miles per hour. I'd like to point out, too, that hurricane force winds extend outward from the center of this thing about 45 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds extend out 175 miles. So don't be so concerned about where the center is, because away from the center itself, for an incredible distance, you already have the hurricane force winds. Tropical storm force winds being felt in many places along the Gulf already. Currently, as it listed here, says 105 miles east-southeast of New Orleans, moving north-northwest at 6. That looks like what we're dealing with tonight. Hurricane warnings in effect, anywhere from Panama City all the way to Morgan City, Louisiana. If you're inside of that red shade there, obviously your greatest concern should be getting out of the way, because this is incredible here with the amount of devastation we could see and the incredible rains. 15 to 25-inch rainfall totals will not at all be uncommon. The wind and the rain, that's one thing. Something else to think about, aside just the actual storminess of the storm itself, is the amount of pushing. That wind has a long way to blow, a long fetch of water, really piling up the water, making for an incredible storm surge. You could see in many of these areas along the hurricane-warned area, storm surge, which means above your normal levels. You could see water in the range of 10 to 15 feet above normal. That's a lot of storm surge to be expected throughout these areas. Even around the mouths of some of the bays, you may see it as high as 17 feet above normal. So we're talking about an incredible storm surge along with the incredible wind and the incredible rain still to fall. A lot of times when you see a tropical system begin to interact with land, a lot of times the northern and eastern sides of it, you will see the risk of tornadoes. You'll see a lot of tornadoes spawn as a system like this moves ashore. We've had a number of tornado warnings throughout the night, but we don't have any tornado warnings presently. That does not mean that something could not pop up in a hurry, because it easily could. Anything in the red shade here, expect the risk of tornadoes. Between now and about 2 a.m., this box may very well be extended beyond that time, too. Panhandle of Florida, parts of Mississippi and Alabama, too. Again, tornado watch for conditions possible for tornadoes in and around these areas. Also, flooding, a great concern. I mentioned 15 to 25-inch rainfalls. Already the rain heavy up around Santa Rosa and Escambia County for flash flood warnings in this region and parts of Florida. Incredible rains again. A lot of this coming down right now. Problem is, as the motion of George has slowed a bit, it started moving in and then slowed up just a bit. That slower motion means that the rain will continue to dump in some of these same areas for a longer period of time. That's not what we want to see here. Center of circulation still a bit offshore, but again, already the incredible wind, incredible rains already being seen. Here's a satellite vantage point. You can see that center of circulation, again, not too far there from the coast. That's the center right there. We'll talk more about this coming up in a few moments in Weather Center, along with some expert analysis from the Weather Channel's senior meteorology supervisor, Stu Ostro. Elsewhere, like I said, 4 days ago, we were dealing with the first time since 1893 we had 4 hurricanes at once. Now we're down to 2. Tropical Storm Ivan was declared an extratropical system, and Tropical Storm Karl, pretty much an extratropical system as well. This is the final advisory as this becomes the big batch of moisture continuing to move. Hurricane Jeanne, not expecting much in the way of change of any kind of strength. Its motion should continue eventually in a cooler water, and it too will probably be declared an extratropical or no longer a tropical system in the next 48 hours. So down to 2 hurricanes. Of course, one very close to home, Hurricane George. Elsewhere, the other problems in the country tonight along the front. Some storms continue. Still, things are getting quieter, though, in most of the Northeast, New York State, parts of Jersey. Still a little wet in parts of Jersey, but it's moving on. Getting most of it out here. A bit of ground clutter here, but we're finally drier in the city. Could be a little stormy still in parts of Kansas. Still a tornado warning in effect in Barber County. Here's a quick look at the morning. We'll talk about the forecast and more about George and Weather Center next.
Folks on the Gulf Coast are preparing for Hurricane George, a storm that's already taken its toll on the Florida Keys and the Caribbean. Live updates just ahead.
For more than a week, we have tracked Hurricane George across the Atlantic and into the Gulf of Mexico. Tonight, the storm is closing in on Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Louisiana. Hurricane force winds are lashing the shore at this hour, and it will likely get worse before it gets better. Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Weather Center. I'm Warren Madden. For the latest on George, let's go to Mike Seidel in the Forecast Center.
And Warren, we've had numerous problems already across the Gulf Coast of Florida into Alabama and Mississippi. Flash flooding continues to be a problem. Escambia County, Santa Rosa County, those of you in the western Florida Panhandle under warnings, flash flood warnings, until at least 12:45 in the morning. And now officially in Pensacola, you've had almost 9 inches of rain today alone, most of that falling late this afternoon and this evening. We've had a couple of tornadoes touch down, possible damage near the town of Baghdad, which is just north of Pensacola. And this is just the beginning of Hurricane George's effects on the Gulf Coast because it is a slow-moving storm. Let's take a look at the latest from the Hurricane Center as of 10 Central. And the wind's now 105. That's down a hair since earlier this evening. This movement continues to slow down. That's not good. North-northwest at 6. And the pressure has come up. Hurricane Hunter aircraft, the Air Force reservists, flying out of Houston tonight, are in the storm, and they are now reporting a pressure of 964 millibars. Now, the hurricane warnings continue in effect along the Gulf Coast from Morgan City all the way to Panama City. Those earlier hurricane watches west of Morgan City have been discontinued. And still a tropical storm warning and hurricane watch for Panama City east to St. Mark's. And Weather Channel team coverage continues this hour. We have Kristen Dodd. She is reporting from Pensacola, Florida, and Bill Keneally from New Orleans. Kristen, we've had to move you twice over the past day or so to get you into a safe area. How is it where you are now, and how far are you from the coast?
Well, we are in a safe area. I want to establish that right now. We're just off Escambia Bay, which is much farther inland than where we have been. Earlier this evening when we were getting pelted by near hurricane force winds, we were right on Pensacola Bay at the base of the 3-mile bridge, and that even is about 3 miles off to Gulf Breeze and a little bit more beyond to the barrier islands. We were evacuated from the barrier islands this morning when the very heavy rainfall and crashing waves washed over all the roadways. All routes were cut off, and we were one of the last to get out over the bridges and back onto the mainland area. So that was one evacuation for us. And we also have evacuated just from Pensacola and closer to the downtown to this more secluded area where we are protected from the wind because it has been quite wicked. And we have had reports of tornadoes. One tornado is reportedly to have ripped the roof off of a condominium, and we have had a lot of trees and limbs down. We've been dodging those as we have been evacuating, also having to try to drive through some driving rain. It's been just a nightmare as far as that is concerned, and no wonder that we are under flash flood warnings here. It has been a very heavy rainfall night, and it looks like that is going to be continuing. Now let's check in with Bill Keneally for the latest conditions in New Orleans.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kristen. We're not near as lucky over here. In the case of we're holding the wind, we're also running the risk of more rainfall as the next couple of days ensue. Some of the computer models printing out a ton of rain over this way. Hopefully that's not going to materialize, and if it does, it doesn't fall within the city where we're looking at some areas that are still below sea level, and that would be a real test of the pumping capacity of the actual French Quarter pumping systems. I'll show you some video shot earlier today. This is from Lake Pontchartrain, and up on the Lake Pontchartrain area we've had a lot of very stiff north winds, which at times are gusting as high as 64 miles per hour. Unofficially, that was the report from the Lakefront Airport today. That was a north wind pushing water down the lake, and then it crashes in along the Lakeshore Drive. That roadway was shut. The good news is, even though the waves were large and the water was moving along, it did not breach or top any of the levees set up around the Lake Pontchartrain area, and for that matter, all the levees protecting the city of New Orleans, the outlying subdivisions and actual suburbs are still holding very nicely. Haven't had a whole lot of rain as of yet. Officially, the airport reporting just over an inch of rain, but